Hello everyone, I hope you are having a great Tuesday. Today's video is going to be a little bit different, as you may notice by my intro that I didn't do my usual intro. But I wanted to talk about a subject that is very close to my heart, and I don't want to hold back from you guys, and I don't want to have you guys feel like I'm ever keeping anything from you, because I'm pretty much an open book. But I feel like if I brought awareness to my situation, that I may help somebody in the future, or that I can let someone feel that they're not alone. And that is my struggle with depression and anxiety. I have dealt with this for a long time, and while I may seem sometimes like I got my mess together, that's not always the case. But I have a couple questions that a few people have asked me about it, as far as my depression and my anxiety, and I wrote them down, and I kind of want to go over them and talk about my story, talk about, my struggles and how I've dealt with it, and when my low points are and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it. Before we get started, I do want to warn you guys that there is talk of suicide in this video, so if that is something that may trigger you, do not watch this video. I do not want to upset anyone in any way, shape, or form, but there is talk of suicide in this video, so if that is something that you are very sensitive to, please do not watch. These ones I want to kind of put together. I've been dealing with depression for as long as I can remember. And I think it first started when my parents divorced. I believe they divorced in 1990. And I felt like my world was falling apart. Like, my family wasn't good enough to stay together. And I believe that would probably have to be the start of when my depression sank in, and when I realized that I had a bigger issue going on. I would cry at night because my dad wasn't around anymore, and I would get upset because my mom didn't talk about my dad. She didn't say she loved him. And then when she started seeing my stepdad, I think that's when my depression got worse, and then it turned into anger as well, especially towards my mother and my stepfather, particularly my stepfather, because it felt like he was trying to take over in the dad department. And then I was angry at my mom for allowing it to happen. And then I also felt like my mom didn't have enough time for us anymore, because she was so, into her new relationship. That was just how I was feeling at the time. That wasn't the situation, but that's just how I was feeling in my head. And then I got really upset. I got angry, and then I started getting really depressed over it, because I felt like I'm not normal, that my family's not normal. So I think that's when my depression first started, and probably when it kicked into its highest, and when I realized that there was something wrong with me. My depression has gotten really bad at times. There were times when I was growing up when I felt like I just didn't want to live anymore, and then I felt like nobody wanted me to be around. It's a tough subject to talk about, but I remember one time I was arguing with my mom about something, and I just said, you know what? I'm tired of this. I can't deal with this mess anymore. I don't want to live anymore. And then my mom was like, well, you need to go talk to somebody. And that's when I realized that my depression and my anger and everything is taking more control over myself than what it should have. I would just, when I was growing up, I would be so jealous of my friends because they were so happy, and it felt like they had everything going for them, while inside I was dealing with this war that I couldn't control. And then I also was bullied in school for my weight. And it just got to a point. There were times when I just didn't want to live anymore. That is not the way that I don't want anyone to ever feel. Like, suicide is your last option. Please pardon the fact that my AC just kicked on. I felt it was my option because it also felt like nobody wanted me around, like I said before. But that wasn't the case. People were telling me they loved me and everything, and they wanted me to be around. But to me, it felt like they were just saying that just to say it, just to try to make me feel better, but it wasn't making me feel better. I was still upset. I was still depressed. When I was in my room by myself the most was when my depression really kicked in. And I stayed a lot of time in my room. So you can just imagine just how bad it had gotten. Yes, certain things really do trigger my depression. The biggest things overall that triggered my depression was, of course, my parents' divorce, which basically kicked off my depression. Was my parents' divorce. My mom getting remarried kicked off made my depression trigger. When my grandmother passed away, that was a big one. When my grandfather passed away, that was a big one. Definitely when my dad passed away back in November. And I still have those. Woo! This is why I put on mascara, because I didn't want to cry. I especially have those days, because it's only been 6 months since my dad passed away, where I feel like I'm not in my right headspace to do anything, and I don't want my depression to show. So, yeah. Wow. When I got sick would have to be the biggest one. I am so sorry that there's someone's car alarm going off in the background. When I got sick was a really big one. Woo! That person needs to get their car alarm. Maybe because I didn't know what was wrong with me, and I didn't know what was going to happen, and just more of the effect of why me, So that was a big factor. Anyone that gets sick that's close to me or passes away that's close to me really triggers my depression. And when I got sick. How do I explain my anxiety? I would say, sorry, I'm pulling my sleeves down. I would say my anxiety is like a crippling feeling. Like my mind is numb and I feel like I can't breathe and that I can't move. And I started my anxiety started kicking in probably, I would say not too long after 9/11 happened was when my anxiety started really coming forward past the depression and past the anger. Because when I was in 7th grade, I had a US government teacher that had said, had there ever be another world war, that where I live would be the first place that they bomb, because I live near I think like 2 military bases. Yeah, 2 really big military bases. And for some reason that just stuck with me for so long. First off, what teacher says that? I mean, that is beyond me. But after 9/11 happened, I just got into this mind numbing feeling, this crippling, you know, feeling that, oh my God, this is going to happen. I'm going to die. And I think sometimes people often mistake freaking out over anxiety. When my anxiety kicks in, like I said, it's mind numbing. I can't move. I feel like I can't breathe. And as opposed to freaking out, when that's something that if I can't find my keys, or if I can't find my hairbrush or something like that, that's freaking out. Because I feel these days a lot of people are so quick to throw out the word anxiety, but they don't really know what it is. They say, oh my God, my anxiety's kicking in because of this movie. And I'm like, how is a movie making your anxiety kick in? I don't get that sometimes. In my mind, I'm thinking, no, you're just freaking out over the movie. But I think there are a lot of people out there these days that just want to throw the anxiety word out and not really understand what it's like to have anxiety. During the time when I was getting diagnosed with my PNH and everything, my anxiety kicked in even more, because it was more of like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? They can't figure it out. I'm gonna die. Anytime I have those thoughts that I'm going to die is when my anxiety kicks in the most. But because I'm scared of death, horrified of it. But I think that's when my anxiety like really kicks in the most, and that's what my anxiety feels like to me. I started getting help with my depression probably, I would say, right after I got diagnosed with my PNH. I hadn't been to a therapist. I hadn't, I mean, I would talk to people every now and then, but it just didn't feel the same. Like when I talked to, certain friends or whatnot, it didn't feel like I felt any better. But surprisingly, talking about it really didn't help. I am on medication for my depression and my anxiety. My depression medication I take every day. My anxiety medication, I don't take it unless I have to. But I have found that worked best for me. I know some people are going to be like, oh, you're just masking your problem with medication, blah, blah, blah. No, that's not the case. I'm balancing out the chemicals in my brain to say, hey, it's okay. That you're going to be all right. Because before then, my brain was just like, whoa. Before then, my brain was just, in that constant state of everyone is against me. The world is against me. I'm never going to amount to anything. So, with my medication, I'm able to reset my brain to say, hey, you're going to be fine, Melissa. You don't have to. Oh my God. You don't have to be upset all the time. You don't have to sit in your room and cry. You're going to be okay. At first, the way that I would manage my depression and my anxiety was through music. I would get so lost into a song and just feel the emotion around it. It didn't matter what type of genre it was from. I just lost myself in music. I would sit in my room and just sing along and just get all that emotion out and just get lost into the music. That was how I would manage my depression at first, my depression and my anxiety at first. Then it came to the point where music wasn't really enough, and I started communicating more with people and started making more friends and all that stuff, and then that didn't help. And then I met the hubster, and I don't know what it was. I had just gotten out of a situation where I was, kind of with someone, kind of not, and it was just a whole big mess. And when I met the hubster, it just turned around for me. It was like, whoa, this is someone who really does care about me and wants to know how I'm feeling and wants to know what's going on and wants to help. So the hubster really helped, and he still does to this day. He really helps with my depression and my anxiety. And then I got back into makeup. That has been a really great saving grace for me, was getting back into makeup. And then doing this YouTube channel and talking to you guys has helped, just being able to feel like I can be myself, that I can be funny, that I can be outgoing, that I can do this and I can do that. Regardless of, people telling me in my past, oh, you're not gonna be able to do this, or you can't do that, and blah, 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 and you're too ugly for this, and you're too fat for that, blah, blah, blah. I've heard it all. And bullying does get to you at times. And does trigger your depression and anxiety a lot. But with what I have going on now and my medications, I feel like I have a better handle on my depression and my anxiety. I still have flare-ups every now and then. Not flare-ups. I would say more episodes. Flare-ups are more for like when my PNH acts up. I have episodes every now and then, but I will If the hubster's at work, I will call the hubster, tell him, hey, can you call me back as soon as you can? And I'll talk to him about it. Or I'll call my mom. My mom, I think, has really come around a lot, because before it felt like she just pushed it aside. Like she didn't want to deal with it because she didn't know how to deal with it. But my mom has now become more open, and here I go again. Oh, I'm a mess. My mom's become more open about it. And I also think because she realized that I was going to my dad more to talk about stuff. Because my dad dealt with depression and anxiety as well. But, you know, I can call my mama. And then I have a few good friends that just, they're just the world to me. And yeah, if it weren't for them, I probably wouldn't have gotten out of, you know, past my PNH diagnosis. So, that's pretty much how I manage it. Well, my hubster for one. I ended up getting married. That was a big issue. That was a big step. Because I never thought I was going to get married. I always used to say, ooh, I always used to say, God, this hair. I always used to say when I was younger that I was never going to get married, that nobody would ever want to marry me. But when I got married, it turned everything around. So that made me decide to change it. My nieces and my nephews made me decide to change it, because they are just so full of life and so full of joy, and I would never ever want them to see me as bad as I have been in the past. So those little faces just made me change it, and my family and my friends, and I just feel like I'm at a really good place right now where I made the right decision to change how I felt. I don't think I'll ever completely overcome it. I wish I could, but I don't think I ever will completely overcome it. I think I will still have episodes here and there, but I won't have them as much as I used to, and they won't be as severe as they have been. So I don't see myself completely getting over my depression and my anxiety. My anger issues have gone down tremendously. Granted, there are still some things that I can get pretty angry about, but other than that, I don't think I'll ever completely overcome it. I have been managing it a lot better. Like I stated before, I've been able to manage it a lot better. But as far as completely overcoming it, I don't see that happening at all. Ooh, one piece of advice. Talk to someone. Let someone in. Don't, and I know that sounds so cliche, but it's actually true. I I had my guard up so bad when I was growing up until the point when I met the hubster, and I still have a little bit of it up to this day, but not as bad as it used to be. But just let someone in, regardless who it is. If it's your parents, or it's a sibling, or it's a friend, or a family member, or your significant other, or a therapist, or an actual you know what I mean, an actual, medical doctor, or a teacher, a counselor, somebody. Let somebody in, because they can help you get the help you need. I always wish I did that. I do wish sometimes that I did go to therapy. I had thought about it and even talked to a counselor one time, but then I was just like, why am I doing this? But that would be my piece of advice, is don't shut the world out. Don't feel like the world is completely against you, because there is one person out there that is not against you, that is willing to help. So that would be my piece of advice, would be to let someone in, talk it out, and yeah, talk it out, let someone in, and just don't shut the world out. Alright everyone, that is my little Q&A, my story about my struggle with my depression and my anxiety and some of my anger. I really hope that this, opens some of your guys' eyes as to knowing that you're not alone out there if you are struggling with the same issues as I have, and still continue to do to this day. You're not alone at all. Even behind the biggest smile, there's always a struggle behind it. Whether somebody lets you in or not, to let you know that is up to them. But I wanted to share my story with you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, you can follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/MelissaLeahGarrett, on Snapchat as MelissaLeah1223, and on Instagram as MelissaLeahGarrett. If you ever need to talk to me about anything, you can always find me there. Also, if that subscribe button is red, make sure that you change that color and hit that notification bell, because of course YouTube is all about the bell now. They were set and determined to make that bell a thing. I do not have a Twitter account, so if you happen to see one with my face and my smile, report it, because it's fake. I love you all so much, and I will see you on